Welcome back to Retro Wednesday at the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about crowdfunds. Corporate crowdfunds should end. This is not what we signed up for with Haslabs and all of these other crowdfunds that are going on right now. I'm going to explain it, but this is the best example of the problem with Haslabs and crowdfunds this day and age. The fact that the Snowcat should have been a retail item, but we'll get into that and a whole lot more. And I'm going to talk about M.A.S.K. I mean, this is really disheartening. Just watching how Loyal Subjects is treating this line, and it's not much fun when the stuff's priced like high-end Hot Toys or something. This is ridiculous. So we'll get into talking about this. We'll talk about these crowdfunds. I'm not in on any of them, and I might be out on the M.A.S.K. line, except for a couple items, because I'm kind of getting tired of these prices. I'm tired of how these are being handled. We'll discuss this and more, but it's also, you know, even with this M.A.S.K, it's a Hasbro failure. I'll show you that coming up. In the early days, when it comes to Haslab, I was the biggest, loudest voice on YouTube. I was a small voice. The loudest voice. Okay, smallest voice, loudest voice at the time about supporting these projects. And I got a lot of viewers, a lot of subscribers, a lot of traffic, a lot of conversations, and a lot of people that have stuck with me since these videos. And I made a lot of them. I just didn't make one or two. Probably made 8 or 9 on the Cell Barge, and I did weekly, so probably 20 on Unicron. And those people, along with the ride, that listened to me and bought one, got it at a steal of a deal. You know, a lot of people would look at these projects and say, I wish I could get them for the price, for the funding price. $500 for the Cell Barge and about $650 or so for the Unicron. They wish they could get that now because those things are so hard to get and so sought after. But they sold 8,800 on the Cell Barge, around 10,000 or so, a little more than 10,000 on the Unicron. Those are still some of the lowest numbers. Well, Snowcat might take that lowest number. I started noticing a massive change, a massive shift in Haslab. They weren't huge dream projects anymore. They were things that we're accustomed to seeing at retail. But instead of just getting, let's say, a Sky Striker, instead of getting a Sky Striker, we get a Sky Striker bundle. So we could have gotten a Sky Striker at retail or at Amazon. But what we really needed was, instead of Hasbro, we needed Flo from Progressive to bundle this for us. Yep, Flo from Progressive. She's good at the bundling, and Hasbro did a little bundle job on us. So because they pack it with all this stuff to make it a Haslab, so because of the fact that the past years had that revenue and profit, that they have to have something to plug in that slot, or they're going to be down in sales. That's just how the corporate world works. I am corporate America, by the way. 24 years of it, and a lot of those 19-hour days, I know what corporate America is all about. And you can't be down. You can't just do what you did last year. 12 billion's not enough. It's just not enough. Got to keep it going. It's got to keep going up and up and up. So with that, this bundle deal kind of concept sucks. When we could have had a Sky Striker at Amazon or on BBTS or something, or maybe even occasionally in a store, but kids will never get a Sky Striker ever again. I mean, I guess you're never going to have anything bigger than what? A Stinger? Why is Stinger going to Walmart? I believe they just mass-produced this because they saw the Vamp was super popular, but they called it an exclusive. And then the Stinger's out. Well, let's let everybody get a Stinger because everyone's going to want a Stinger, which I prefer this. I've got a Stinger. I don't have a Vamp anymore. I sold it off. I am happy with my Stinger. It's my favorite of the two. And with that, Walmart's going to get these now. And why? Are they doing an extra production run for Walmart? No, I think that's how much stock has not sold. That's how much they're sitting on. They had to dump it on someone like Walmart. I don't know what the price is going to be, though. This kind of stuff is why they're scared of making vehicles in this range. And we're going to see the AWE Striker, see how that does. But that's another exclusive. That's not open to everyone. So you're looking at maybe 8 to 20,000 instead of 50,000. That's some random numbers there, but it's probably pretty close. So I made a video the very first 3 days or so, 4 days of the Snowcat, and said I was on the fence because I didn't feel like it was worth $325. And even if it unlocks everything, I still didn't feel like it was worth $325. And I was kind of fatigued on it. I was fatigued on these Haslabs, these big projects. And I know I heard Lenny say, the Snowcat's not big enough to be a Haslab. It's going to come out probably at a higher price point than 100, but we were all hoping 150. And that's what people expected. This is not meeting the expectation of the collectors. Now, the fact that it's much bigger, it's going to be more than twice the price what we expected, then here we are sitting with an oversized and a bunch of extra stuff thrown in, $325 option that most people don't want. So I would venture to say 80% of people will not use everything that they're trying to cram in here to get that price. But it's not because they feel it has to be that big, because it has to fill a slot. For last year, see, last year we had the Rattler. Those are starting to show up. Well, if we don't have the Snowcat this year, then they're not going to meet the sales forecast and sales projections, and that's how it works. So they plugged this in when it should have been something else, like a whale. I'd have been in on a whale. Even at 400, I'd have been on a whale because that's my favorite vehicle. And I feel like it's going to be big enough to be worth the money. And this is big, but to me, not worth $325. I'm not backing it. And if this backs, then... So I guess we're looking at $325 each if we ever get a Havoc or a water moccasin, or like, where's it going to end? If this backs, then we're paying ridiculous prices instead of getting these for, which maybe 100 and 150 for Havoc, 100 for the water moccasin, maybe even a little less, but we're going to be paying the $325. They're going to do a bundle deal. They're going to bring Flow back in. We're going to have a bundle deal on these, and we're going to be paying $325. And I'm going to tell you, I'm out. I am out. For 100, I'd buy a water moccasin. 150, I would definitely buy a Havoc because it is one of my favorites. All right, what's next on my agenda here? This is the Star Wars Vintage Collection Lat-I Gunship. Now, I'm not in this era, and I don't have anything against people liking this. It's fine. If you like it and you love it, enjoy it. I don't want to steal your joy, but I had, I think, 5, because I bought up used ones for my kids, and I sought out parts for them so they could have complete ones and stuff, and they had fun with it. But when they got to a certain age, they were done with it, and I sold them all off. And I have to admit, they went for quite a bit of money, like $100 each or something. To me, that was a lot of money, because I just didn't think that they were worth it. I did not care for this at all, but I'm not in on this. I really think it should have been a Sandcrawler, or it should have been something more like, it's Tidarium Hangar. I want an Imperial Shuttle. I'd have been in on that stuff. I wouldn't have been in on this. Well, I'm not. I don't even care. And I'll get back to the thing. I think that the Ghost that they made, even though it's not my era, was a good one. I think that the Cantina was a great one, but, you know, I don't have the space for it. I didn't want to spend that much money. So there's a lot of factors: space, money, price. And I would have rather the Cantina have come out in modular, like they're doing with these sets for $50. You could buy several and just piece it together if you want to, or you could just get one. But here goes a comparison to the vintage. So the vintage one on top is the one I had. And I say vintage very loosely because this was created in the early 2000s. And everyone knows the vintage line is drawn at 1995. So here this is. And it's bigger. But is it like $300 bigger? I don't know. Is it really worth it? And do the collectors really have the space for this? Well, I mean, we saw that we already have several, almost 3,000 backers. So 3,000 people have the space for this. But yeah, there it goes. But like I said, why are they doing this? Because they got to fill a slot. Got to fill that sales slot. Why couldn't they fill the sales slot with just reissuing the other one and producing way more of them? All right, we've got another crowdfund going on with this Origins Snake Lair playset, $300. I gotta say this. I think people were upset about this because of the fact that they wanted it to be a $100 playset. And see, I think the wires got crossed on this. People wanted a $100 playset, not a $300 playset. They made it way too big and extravagant the first time, So they pared it back to a $100 playset. They're still charging $300. Now, people are going to argue that it's worth this, worth that, value this, value that. And yeah, I understand that. But the original Grayskull sold out really fast. They had to do a second production run. And so many people bought on the secondary market. They bought it, spent stupid money, $150, $200 for an $80 playset, that the second run didn't sell through, and that got clearanced out. So that spooked them and scared them. I do know that collecting overall is down, and the fact that MOTU seems to have dwindled, and people still argue with me, well, they're putting out all these products, but they don't sell out. And that's why they want to do a crowdfund on this. But see, I really think that the Attack Track won, and I would have been in on an Attack Track, but I'm not in on this. I just don't have any tie to it. I don't care about it. And with that, I would have bought it for $80 like the other playsets. And some people argue 92 would have been a price point at retail, or even if it was online only. But yeah, $300, I'm out 100%. I mean, we need to really stop all this nonsense. I will say the Eternia was worth it. The Eternia is something that it makes no sense to try to put it at retail or even online exclusive or anything like that. It's so massive. It's so big. I love mine. And actually, during the funding of this, I considered just buying a vintage one and not buying a new one, because the vintage ones, there were like 13 of them nearly complete. And I saw one for $1,200, and I thought I was going to talk the guy down to an even grand, but I decided to against all of that and just get the new one. And I'm glad I got the new one. And I don't know where I'd have put a vintage one and a new one, so I like the new one better. There's a couple things I like better on the vintage, like a smoother snake head on the snake tower. And I went ahead and, for the rest of the stuff I liked, I just bought it. So I have the parts that I like better on the vintage one. But this was worthy of a crowdfund. It was $600 and something. Not everybody could afford it. There's no way they could have brought this to market for $300. I just having it in hand and everything they did, there's just no way. And so this is worthy. We are worthy. Now, since Mattel got burned, Target got burned on those Castle Grayskulls, because the second run didn't sell through. Snake Mountain was produced, for whatever reason, in really low quantities. I feel like Target was the main place to get it. I think you got it on Amazon, because I got two. I got one on Amazon and one on Target at Target. I don't think I ever saw it on sale, other than the usual Target sales. Like they have, 25 off 100. And so yeah, I got one at Target with 25 off 100. So I got a good deal on that. But look what it's going for now. I mean, crazy prices. I could only find like 5 total that are for sale, and the rest are the vintage ones, and nobody wants the vintage one for some reason. So it's really interesting how this has done so well at retail that they don't think they could do a similar size, scale, and in all of the aspects of it, very, very similar to the Snake Lair. My next point, I have to point this out, because we've got the Cat's Lair that was a crowdfund. So this was a crowdfund. And I don't know, 3-4 months ago, we got some stock in at BBTS, and there it sits. The $650 Cat's Lair is now $1,000 at BBTS, and nobody wants it. It's not selling. I haven't even opened mine because I have the space I was going to put it. I got to rework. I got to rework a lot of stuff, and I just don't have time for it. But I feel good knowing I've got it. So that's kind of one of those weird things. But this thing's still available, and this is what's happening with almost all past Haslabs, aside from the early ones with the Unicron, the Cell Barge, and a couple of the Transformers ones might be going up. People really can't unload their extras. So one of the things you're going to run into is that the Snowcat, these ones that are barely funding, if they do fund, they're actually going to be kind of sought after in the future. It's scary. They're going to be sought after in the future, and we're not going to have a lower cost option. So that is what it is. Because of past, I don't want to call them failed, but past crowdfunds that people double, triple, quadruple down on because they wanted to double their money, are not doubling their money. They're barely breaking even. Some people even losing money. And so with that, current crowdfunds aren't going to make it, or barely make it. And if they barely make it, they're going to be super ultra rare. Unless these companies do something shady and produce an extra 10,000 and sell it somewhere else. Now, this isn't a crowdfund, but it really gets on my nerves, and it feels like a crowdfund. So when you have a crowdfund, you pay $325 up front, and then maybe you get your stuff in the future. Now, I don't know on the Loyal Subject site if they charge you right away or they charge you when it ships. People told me they haven't gotten charged yet, but I don't know. I mean, I personally haven't gone through it, so I can't tell you. So with this, the Black and Gold bundle, the 40th anniversary bundle, they are juicing collectors for $380. And I want this, but I don't want to spend $380. I thought it would be $300. So I'm really irritated with this line. What I really should be irritated with Hasbro not doing anything with the property for all these years. Well, Hasbro did something and they failed. Instead of rejuvenating or reinvigorating or bringing back Killer M.A.S.K, they brought Vortech, which was not based on M.A.S.K, whole different story, similar concept of toys, and it failed and went, I guess when toy lines failed in the 90s, they went to KB, because that's the only place I ever saw them, and the most expensive one was $12.99. So my mindset is Hasbro could have done it for $12.99 a vehicle back then if they would have gone forward and done all the vehicles that are getting done now. No, they probably could have done it a little different pricing structure, up to 30 or 40 maybe at the most for a Rhino, but they didn't. They chose not to for whatever reason. Same company that brought back Star Wars, slightly different figures, 5 POA, slightly different than vintage, brought it back. It was a hit. It really reinvigorated collecting as a whole for every franchise because it was so powerful, the Power of the Force 2. With this, they could have made M.A.S.K a hit again. They could have made tons of money instead of failing and never wanting to touch this. This is why I think Hasbro never touched M.A.S.K, because this poorly planned Vortech concept didn't get off the ground. No, and we can't make playsets at retail or even Amazon exclusives. This actually did really well, sold out, did really well. So I think they got multiple shipments of it because it sold out for a while, 2 months. And then they got them back in stock now. So I think they did well with it. I don't know why they mark them down to 50. Sometimes they're cheaper. But this is awesome. They did it. But Playmates is realizing they need to make it closer to vintage scale. They realized they scaled this back too much. It was too small. But still, this is a pretty good sized playset even though it's scaled down. And for the price, for $80, it's good value. Alright, so let me know what you guys think about all these crowdfunds and them. They're not going to fail. These are all going to get funded. They're all going to fund, and they're all going to have lower numbers than we've seen in the past. And they're all going to be harder to get if you want them down the road. But I'm not in that boat. I'm not going to be tracking any of this stuff back down. I don't care. And I'm not supporting any of these crowdfunds unless it's a true dream project. Like a whale. A G.I. Joe whale. Like a Imperial Shuttle or a Jawa Sandcrawler or something like that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like, subscribe, touch your hang around.